you okay with
I'm good.
evaluation? Yep. Hello, my name is LKirssin, and for my senior verbiage project, I chose the topic of gun violence prevention. I chose this topic because over the summer I went to a mission trip in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and one of the days there we had a member of Heeding God's Call come and speak to us. It's a nonprofit organization that's devoted to ending gun violence in the Philadelphia area. But we had a representative come and speak to us about that, and we learned a little bit about the statistics. Afterwards, he asked us to help hand out flyers for a local rally, which can be seen here. The rally was for a gun shop that was known for selling illegal guns. It was trying to reopen. So we went around the community and handed out flyers to encourage people to come to the rally. Afterwards, we went and helped take down the T-shirt memorial, which they do every year, which is seen in this picture. The T-shirt memorial is in memory of the gun violence victims from the previous year. I went in summer 2016, so there's a T-shirt for everyone murdered by gun violence for the year 2015. I helped take down 283 shirts. That's why I got interested. Also on the shirts is the name and the age and the date of the victim. So to connect me, my youth minister connected me to my mentor, Allison Miles. She is the executive director of the Episcopal Peace Fellowship, which is a nonprofit organization also devoted to ending gun violence across the nation. She also plays a major role in the Charlottesville Coalition for Gun Violence Prevention. So for my community service and internship, she brought me to events, and I helped set up for multiple events and participate to get some experience. So my first event was Concert Across America, which is a nationwide concert in memory of victims to gun violence. It was in a local church, and then afterwards I helped hand out free gun locks that were donated from the police office there, as well as Ask Campaign flyers, which the Ask Campaign is for parents to, it encourages parents to call and ask if there's an unlocked gun in the home before allowing their children to go over for a play date or to for babysitting. After this, I went to the Speaking Truth conference. It was a day for advocacy training. I learned a little bit about gun violence prevention, and I was able to listen to Lori Haas. Her daughter was one of the victims to gun violence at the Virginia Tech shooting in 2007. Luckily, she survived, but her mother has spent her life since then devoted to bringing awareness and encouraging people to get involved and help. After this, I went to a prayer vigil in front of the Capitol building in Richmond. I stood outside with close to 300 people so that we could catch the attention of both people passing by and our representatives in the General Assembly building. A majority of people there were with Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense, which is an interest group that consists of mothers who support the Second Amendment, but think it's important to make sensible decisions in safekeeping of guns and uses. After this, we went into the General Assembly building and we lobbied. My mentor unfortunately had to go home with her children, but I was able to stay and shadow some people who were lobbying. I was a little disappointed that I wasn't able to do it myself. I was unprepared to do it myself because my mentor wasn't there to help me out, and but it was definitely a learning experience, and I knew I know how to lobby now, and I know what to do and how to prepare for that. After that, I developed my research question, which is how to effectively change gun laws. So my internship has kind of expanded beyond just gun violence prevention and how to effectively change laws. So one of the events I went to was it was a branch of the Women's March in the Charlottesville Art Park. So I was able to attend a huge event with many people um, who wanted to get involved for women's rights. I also had a booth there and I helped Allison out. Um, it was for the Charlottesville Coalition for Gun Violence Prevention, and it's just informed people locally what they can do to help and inform them a little bit about gun violence prevention. After this, I went to the Day for All People, which was hosted by the Virginia Interfaith Center. It's a large lobbying group that picks different topics each year. Unfortunately, this year was not gun violence prevention. It was on both healthcare and criminal justice. So I was able to, basically how the day went is I went to Richmond, it was 8 o'clock in the morning, and I had 1 hour, and they handed me a huge packet of like 30 different bills that I needed to study and be prepared for in an hour, as well as learn more about healthcare and criminal justice. So they kind of just threw it at me, like, here, study this. Also, you're the only one from your district to lobby here today. So I had to go in, I studied that, and I lobbied by myself. Unfortunately, Delegate Bell was not available to meet, but I talked to the lady at the front desk and handed her papers and told her a little bit about what I knew. And I was able to speak to Senator Hayner's assistant about what I knew about the topics. Afterwards, we had a rally out in front of the General Settlement, you see here. For my legacy, I wrote a letter to Senator Warner. I basically told him what I've been doing, and I told him a little bit about the research I've done, as well as proposed some ideas and bills I think could be helpful in the future to prevent gun violence. So for a little bit of the research I told him about, let me get started on that. So I told him how the U.S. is the leader in gun violence in out of all the countries, which can be seen here. There's also 294 million guns circulating within the United States, and 88.8 out of 100 U.S. citizens own a gun. After that, I went a little bit deeper into actual gun deaths within the United States. The main source for my information was the Gun Violence Archive, which is a nonprofit organization that uses over 2,000 sources to find different statistics on how many deaths and incidents of gun violence within the United States. The twos represent incidents and the ones represent deaths. So this year alone, we've already had over 4,000 gun deaths within the United States. And I also told him how it's been increasing. So in 2014, there were over 12,500 deaths. In 2015, there was over 13,400 deaths. And then in 2016, we had over 15,000 deaths due to gun violence. That's not considering the 2/3 of which is due to suicide. These numbers did not factor in suicide. Just within the last year, they're starting to consider suicides as acts of gun violence, which increases the number by 2/3. Also, between the years 2005 and 2010, there were 3,800 unintentional shootings. And according to the U.S. General Accounting Office, 8% were of the shootings were committed by children under the age of 6. So after hearing about that, I was like, I decided that I want to focus more on the safety aspect of guns, because if children and people who are attempting to commit suicide have access to the guns, what can we do to prevent that, and what laws can be made and bills can be proposed? So I went into that a little bit. In many states, gun safes are tax-free. In Virginia, that's not the case. So I told, in my letter, I wrote about potentially making that a law in Virginia, as well as looking at that nationally. It's a small thing that wouldn't be very politically controversial, but I think that it could encourage safety. Another thing is gun locks. I asked him, or I didn't ask him, I proposed the idea of requiring guns to be sold with gun locks as a requirement across America to encourage safety. Also in police offices locally, we have gun locks available for free anyone who asks. So I asked him to maybe advertise that, and I informed him about that. So my research question was, what is the most effective ways to influence gun laws? My first solution is rallying, marching, and prayer vigils, big events that draw a lot of attention to both politicians, your representatives, the president, and just people from outside of like people actually marching. It draws a lot of attention to gun violence prevention within the U.S. This is the prayer vigil at Virginia Tech following the shooting in 2007. Another solution is lobbying and actually like personally contacting your representative. Like the letter I wrote, or actually going in and talking to them, because it informs them about bills either they may not have known about, or it just informs them about like which way you should encourage them to vote, or shouldn't vote for a bill. And it gives you an opportunity to talk to them. And finally, donating money to politicians and representatives can encourage them to vote a certain way, or create their platform a certain way to meet your request that they're voted back into office. Although this can be successful, I don't think it's the most successful solution, because the counter lobby has more money to donate than the gun control lobby. The gun rights interest groups had the ability to donate $35 million since 1990, 21 of which were from the National Rifle Association. The gun control interest group has only been able to donate $2 million to that same population since 1990. So although money can be impactful, I don't think it's the most. I don't think it's the best solution. For upcoming Burbank students, I would suggest developing a strong relationship with your mentor. I had moments where I wasn't in great contact and moments where I had really great contact. And the moments where I was in great communication with my mentor, I learned a lot, and they become a valuable resource to your research for your paper, and they're extremely knowledgeable and are happy to hear from you. Although I did learn a lot, and I love politics and I like government, it's not something I want to major in. It's extremely challenging, can be frustrating at times. But I will definitely stay involved and informed. Next year, I plan to attend the University of Virginia to study architecture. I think that's everything. Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
So, folks who are on the other side of this issue might point to their Second Amendment right to defend themselves, that there's a natural law, a natural right to defend yourselves. I wonder if you encountered that argument. If you did, how you dealt with it.
It's definitely an argument, which is why throughout my research and my project, and even my mentor, she talks about how we try to encourage gun safety, not so much like gun control. We're not necessarily against guns, but we're trying to just improve safety so that accidents can't easily happen, that there isn't easy access to a gun. But that's definitely an issue, because I think people automatically assume that we're trying to say no guns at all. So that's definitely a thing that I had a hard time with. But does that answer your question?
It does, yeah.
Yes.
What do you feel like is the most effective way if someone's really passionate about a topic to make a change, make a legal change?
Well, do you mean to like?
So like, how would you change a lawmaker's mind? What do you think is the best way? Did you feel like it was when you talked one-on-one, or your letter, or?
I think for me, it's when I had the opportunity to talk one-on-one, because it's more specific and you can get into it. In Virginia, the General Assembly session is 45 days, and then there's almost 3,000 bills for them to look at, House bills to go through. So there's a good chance that they're either going to overlook a bill you're interested in if you don't go and talk to them and inform them about it. I also forgot to mention, as part of my legacy, I completed a petition, an online petition petition that Allison was able to send around the state and have people sign. I think that shows that voters are supporting you and would encourage someone to vote a certain way.